Hey, Wellness Warriors, happy Friday. I hope you guys have some really fun, healthy, exciting plans today. And if you're jumping on, just go ahead and say hello. It's 11 o'clock here. And I wanted to talk a little bit about motivation today because it's a topic that comes up a lot for me with my clients and in general. Like, I'll often hear people say, like, I just don't have motivation to do this. Like, I want this, I desire this, but I don't have any motivation to do anything about it. And I think that can make people feel really stymied and like really depressed and frustrated. Like, you're visualizing something, you're wanting something, but you don't know where to get that motivation to actually put one foot in front of the other. So I wanted to just chat about that today. I actually had a conversation with somebody today about it. It was just very, there was a lot that came out of that conversation. Hello, whoever joined, you can come say hi. And so motivation is this like really like elusive thing. It's like this bugaboo, right? It's like sometimes we just have it, right? I'm motivated and I'm going to go and jog and I'm going to go do this or, meal plan. And then at other times it's like we're completely depleted of motivation and we don't know where to get it. It's like lost. It's like in thin air. Like, where do we get this motivation? And I think that can be like an area of distress for people, because what then happens is that we lead into making stories about ourselves, like, I'm just not a motivated person and I can't create action because, or change habits or do anything different because I lack the motivation. And I think we've got to start right there to just rid yourselves of those stories, because the truth of it is that motivation does not come out of thin air. You're not going to be lying on your couch necessarily. I mean, maybe you would, and all of a sudden be like, I'm motivated. Like, I think that's what people expect, like that it's just going to somehow come to them and it's going to emerge out of thin air and then everything will be great and dandy. But that's unfortunately not how it works. And when I worked at a national health and weight management company for a long time, we talked about the difference between motivation and momentum. So those are two really different things, right? And oftentimes we want momentum, clearly, because momentum keeps us in action. But in order to create momentum, we have to have motivation to make the change to begin with. And that's where people really struggle, right? And so one of the things that I often tell people is that you create the motivation. You create it not by just hoping it shows up, but by doing the action. The action is what creates the motivation and the momentum creates the motivation too. So I'm trying to think of an example, but like, imagine I like to use this example a lot, but like, imagine you're like a sailboat on a dock and you need to get somewhere, and there's two boats, and one of the boats gets like a push from somebody or from whatever, and you have momentum, you're sailing, you're off. And the other one is sort of stagnant. If they don't get that push and they sort of like just sort of sputter and stagnant and maybe get a little far and then like don't get anywhere. So really what creates the motivation is the action. And it doesn't have to be some grandiose, huge step like, I'm going to sign up for a marathon. Like, certainly that's an action, but that might not be the one that's going to create the motivation. It might. But I often like to have people start with incremental steps. Like, you can't build something out of nothing. You have to create something, and then more can grow out of that. Momentum can grow from that. I hope that makes sense. But so oftentimes, if you're looking for motivation, start where you are. Just honor where you're at and start in small incremental steps. So if typically you've been jogging a mile a day, or like walking an hour a day, jogging or whatever amount a day, your brain is automatically going to go to that, like, well, I used to be able to jog an hour a day, or I used to be able to walk an hour a day, and now I have no motivation to do any of it. And what happens is that we get caught up in our like glory days of what we used to be able to do, and when we were at our fittest, or when we were at our healthiest, or when we were at our thinnest, or whatever it is that we sort of struggle with. And I'm suggesting that we reframe that. So instead of feeling like, well, if I can't get to that again, I'm just not going to do anything because I'm not motivated. Do something, 10-minute walk, 5-minute walk, 15-minute walk. Like, one little thing is sometimes enough to spark that action and to create that momentum, especially if you get positive biofeedback from it. So you go for the 15-minute walk and you're like, well, that was awesome. And maybe you say, well, I'm going to do 10 minutes and you end up doing 20. Even better. You weren't expecting that of yourself. You weren't planning for it, but it was a nice sort of added benefit and made you feel good, maybe changed your physiology a little bit, maybe had you more clear-headed, maybe put you in a better mood. And that right there, you guys, that's momentum. That's motivation. It comes from an action and then feeling the results, the positive results from that behavior. So I hope that makes sense. And making habit changes, like this is a time of year where everyone's like, have all these like grand plans for New Year's resolutions and these major changes. For me, it's about organization. Every year I'm like, okay, I'm going to get organized this year. And I'm going to like clean my house this year. I'm going to get decluttered. And I get stymied because it seems very overwhelming, right? So I'm going to apply those same principles by just breaking it down into smaller steps and just being in action. So what I've been starting to do is like, anytime I have like 10, 15 minutes, I start taking stuff and throwing it out. And, this is new for me to do that, but I honestly see that because I'm getting something done and I'm seeing the benefit. I see the way that I feel when my space is clear and it's motivating me to keep going and it's giving me that momentum. So you just want to apply those principles to whatever it is that you struggle with whenever you're feeling like, oh, I'm not motivated. Start with where you're at. Not what your glory days were, not what you've done in the past, but what you're doing now, what you're able to do now. And that will lead you to like feeling really, really super great, and successful. Like I used to make to-do lists and I wanted to feel good with my to-do list. So actually part of my to-do list was like, make a to-do list. Great, I get to cross it off. Or take a shower. Awesome, I feel amazing. It's small, these like small little gestures that we're able to actually do and overcome and feel good about. And then from there it builds. So I mentioned this yesterday, but me and Kate and Sarah Steckler, Kate Burns, we're going to be doing our very last webinar of 2017. These webinars have been so amazing. We have such a great chemistry together. We love serving people. We love helping people. No strings attached, totally free. This last one is going to be about habit shifts and about what are some of the steps that we can do to truly enact change in our lives, not just for like January, February, but really for the long haul and making sustainable change that actually sticks. So I hope that you'll consider joining us. This is going to be a really fun one. We have a really special opportunity at the end as well that we're excited to share with folks. And I left the link here. It's kateburns.com/habitshiftbrunch. I hope you'll join us and share this video if you like. Share the link. If you've come to some of these webinars and you love them, bring a couple of friends with you. I think there might be a limit of how many people can attend, maybe 100. And we've been getting pretty close to that registration-wise. So definitely, register today as soon as you can if you're interested in joining us. And that's just my little tidbit today. Let me know what you think. Where are you feeling with motivation? How do you feel like you get momentum around behaviors that are difficult for you to sustain? And I'd love to continue this conversation. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I'm picking up my kitty cats on Sunday. I'm so excited. They're such sweet babies and we need some joy and love in our house in the form of like some furry creatures. So I'm really excited to pick them up. So I'm really excited about this weekend and I hope everyone is doing well. Bye.